Party MP for Chingford and Woodford Green warned that adopting such EU policies after Brexit would mean the UK would become a rule taker. The Tory MP said, "Being out of the EU and in the customs union is literally the worst of all worlds. You will have to accept, not just the tariff situation where the EU sets the tariff levels on all products, but what has gone missing from this debate is you will also have to align most of your regulations with those of the EU on goods and services. They are not going to allow you just to have a tariff wall. They will need to know that the goods traveling across in a customs-free area has to be aligned. You become a rule taker as a country. Look at Switzerland. They are out of the customs union. Their goods travel freely across the borders. In fact, per capita more goods travel into the EU and are sold in the EU than we do in the UK. I am utterly convinced that the Prime Minister's position is to leave the customs union. It follows the arch-Brexiteer issuing a rallying cry to worried Brexit voters that they should not fear there being a rebellion, while promising Theresa May will deliver the detachment from the EU that the public voted for. The former Tory leader sought to quell growing fears after cross-party MPs, including Anna Soubry and Chuka Umunna, formed a group demanding an option to stay in the EU. BBC Brexit News. Ian Duncan-Smith claimed the customs union would be worst of all worlds. Being out of the EU and in the customs union is literally the worst of all worlds. Ian Duncan-Smith, a Brexiteer, said, "This is about the government delivering its business. I do not have any fears of there being a rebellion that would actually stop the government delivering its business. The government has suffered 3 more heavy defeats in the Lords over flagship Brexit legislation, but Mr. Duncan-Smith said the unelected Lords should be careful." He added, "I believe the government will get its business. It has a right to do so because it is what the public voted for. Parliament has always got to be slightly careful of having given the public the vote and then turning around and trying to eat away at the vote to suggest that people did not know what they were voting for, which is what we heard in the Lords. I thought the Lords, rather arrogantly, thought that somehow the great British public were unable to know what they were voting for. I think they knew very clearly what they were voting for, and therefore we need to deliver on that, and I do believe, and the Prime Minister believes as well, that the party is behind her on getting ourselves a proper trade arrangement. The rest of this will fall away in due course when we begin that process on proper negotiation on free trade." In the main reverse, Piers backed a cross-party move to retain key EU human rights provisions on exiting the union. Voting was 316 to 245, majority 71, to carry over most of the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights into domestic law post-Brexit. It came in report stage of the European Union withdrawal bill and after 2 big defeats at the hands of the Lords last week.